The Puck Portfolio with Andy McNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio for Wednesday, February 5th. Back after a big 14-game slate on Tuesday. I'm Andy McNeil, and joining me, as always, is Nick Martin from DFO. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, had a solid night last night. A nice small slate for us to kind of rest a bit tonight. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, just 3 games in the NHL on Wednesday, and last night wasn't as I guess disastrous as it could have been. I had the tie in Washington and Florida. The score might not lead you to believe that it was a close game, 6-3 Caps, but it was a pretty close game, and I thought I felt alive there right until the very end. I was hoping that the Florida
You were
Panthers
very
would tie
alive.
it up. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
there's
very
a big
alive,
save on Reinhardt
yeah,
that I was
but of course,
definitely worried about.
Caps netted a couple empty netters, or was it just one empty netter?
It was 2 empty netters because
2
there's
empty
the
netters.
one, and then that set up them being able to put Ovechkin out to get his empty netter.
Yeah, I figured I'm not superstitious, so I switched games to watch something else while that one was winding down because I didn't want to sweat the overtime bet. But that did not get there. Mikko Rantanen did have 2 shots at one point, but they took one away and he only finished with 1. Fortunately, Leon Draisaitl, not much of a sweat at all, cashed his over 2.5 shots on goal prop in the first period, finished with 6 in the game. We'll talk about him a little bit later. And then, of course, the Winnipeg Jets, the bet that I told everybody not to make because, hey, now Eric Comrie's starting. It's a bad bet. They go and they shut out the Carolina Hurricanes. It was a bit of a weird night last night in the NHL. Some weird outcomes. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks without Quinn Hughes shutting out the Colorado Avalanche. I doubt many people would have predicted that. But yeah, kind of a weird night in the NHL. You did get your Cole Caulfield goal, though, right?
I did. Yeah, he was good to us. I felt like pretty good about that one. And then, yeah, personally, I did really good on that game. And I did add the Ducks, but I also ended up playing the Kraken, who lost another shootout for me. So, yeah, good night overall.
All right, let's start with the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. I believe you have a player prop in this game, as do I. Interesting matchup. I mean, Boston, Jeremy Swayman, and the Bruins shutting out the Minnesota Wild 3-0 on home ice on Tuesday. They're now off to New York for a rematch against the Rangers after doubling up on them 6-3 on Saturday in Boston. You would think that Jonas Korpisalo will likely get the start tonight, given that Swayman played the first half of a back-to-back. He's been solid for the Bruins this season. He's earned 3 shutouts of his own. That was the third shutout this season for Swayman last night. But yeah, I mean the Bruins are much stronger, at least theoretically, with Swayman in net. He hasn't had the best season, but since November 15th, he saved the Bruins 4.51 goals above expected, according to Evolving Hockey. Korpisalo has a slightly negative mark in that category during that time frame, minus 0.74 goals saved above expected. The Bruins, they've won 2 in a row, 7 of 11 games since they lost 6 straight between December 31st and January 9th. However, over the past month, the Bruins ranked 28th in shot attempt percentage, 30th in expected goals percentage at even strength. And while they have been really good offensively, they rank among the top 10 teams in goals per 60 minutes in all situations since January 5th. They also rank among the bottom 5 in goals against per 60 in all situations. So big edge there for the Rangers as they've been decent, at least defensively. And with the goaltending matchup, you would think that New York will have a big edge in the crease tonight, despite the fact that Igor Shesterkin allowed 5 goals on 24 shots on Saturday against the Bruins. And he hasn't had a lot of success against Boston, which is probably a little bit, I guess, not surprising to people, but he has lost 5 of his last 6 starts versus the Bruins. He's 4-8 in his career versus Boston, 900 save percentage, 3.00 goals against average. So yeah, hasn't had a lot of success, but David Pastrnak, I guess, he's been carrying the Bruins over the last 2 months, I guess, better part of 2 months. He leads the NHL in goals, 17, and points, 38 since December 13th. And he is looking to extend his point streak to 12 games tonight versus the Rangers. Of course, he had that hat trick 4-point night or 4-point day on Saturday. It was an early game. So yeah, he'll look to keep that alive tonight. And, maybe now with Charlie McAvoy back and Hampus Lindholm closing in on a return, he's been out for a long time. Maybe, Pasternak won't have to shoulder as much of the responsibility as he has had to over the last few months. But yeah, it's not looking great for the Bruins because the Rangers, they've also been a top 10 offensive team. They've been slightly better than Boston, and they've at least been average defensively. They rank 16th in goals against per 60 minutes over the last month. So with all that and the fact that they're doing a better job, I won't say a much better job, but a better job controlling play than the Boston Bruins are. The Bruins are 28th in expected goals percentage over the last month, so not looking very good. And that really really has been the case most of the season here. So you would expect the Rangers to be able to control play, especially with the Bruins on the second half of a back-to-back. But them as big favorites here. These edges that I'm talking about that New York has coming into this game, I think they've all been, realistically factored into the odds, and I wouldn't be able to bet the Rangers to win this game given the prices that are out there right now. Where we at here right now at Pinnacle, New York is a minus 211 favorite on the money line, plus 187 for the Boston Bruins. But I do have a player prop that I like. It is Vincent Trocheck to go over 2.5 shots on goal, plus 135 at Bet365. That's the best price out there in the market right now, as far as the Alberta jurisdiction is concerned. He's registered 3 or more shots in 11 of his last 18 games, 4 of his last 6 games. He attempted 7 shots on Saturday against the Bruins, finished with 3 shots on goal. He doesn't attempt as many shots as Artemi Panarin, who has 137 shot attempts since December 28th, but he's registered 51 shots on goal, which is just 2 fewer than Panarin, despite attempting 45 fewer shots. So I think given the plus 135 price range, his current form, everything like that, I think this is a pretty good chance for Trocheck to go over 2.5 shots on goal. Where are you at on this game, Nick? I know you like the Rangers to make the playoffs. I'm not sure if those odds have changed at all after the Bruins win last night or any of the other, impacts in the standings after all the games that happened last night. But where are you at on the Rangers to make the playoffs and your player prop for tonight?
Yeah, I like the Rangers to make the playoffs still. They're up to plus 180 because yesterday was the worst possible string of events for it, but that's fine. I'm more liking it based off the long-term idea that I think they are the best of the teams in the mix. So that's all right. I like the Rangers in this game. As I noted yesterday, they were minus 166. They're now at minus 210. So another one of these spots. Feels like the rest never gets factored in enough. The backup goaltenders never get factored in, at least at the rec books that are populating lines the day before. So yeah, not surprised to see a lot of line movement there. And yeah, you talked about how Swayman's been really excellent. If you look at it, the Bruins, like you said, since January 1st, they're second worst in most defensive metrics. So they've been really bad. Part of the problem has obviously been that they haven't had McAvoy, but that's only been 7 of the 16 games in that sample that they haven't had him. So it's also a larger sample where they've had him there and still been pretty bad defensively. So yeah, I think it's a good spot for the Rangers. Everyone's going to be on JT Miller props, and I'm right on board. I think him and Panarin to get each get a point at minus 110 is a good play. Obviously, a big part of it is Miller has been rejuvenated since he got over there. He's got 4 points in a small sample of 2 games. Their line has looked excellent, 3.97 expected goals for per 60, which I think has met the eye test. They've looked really dangerous. And I don't think anyone was worried about Panarin getting going or just playing. He's kind of always just going to dominate. But it does seem like it's really rejuvenated Mika Zibanejad, who's looked good playing alongside them. So if they can get him going, that would be massive because he clearly is at a point where he needs to be carried by his line mates, but it does feel like this current mix has helped him bounce back. So that's the other prop I like there. He's had a ton of shot attempts over those 3 games. He's looked much better. Power play is looking really dangerous since Miller got there. It succeeded 60% of the time. So I like Panarin and Miller each to get a point, but I also like Zibanejad to get 3 shots at plus 110. I think that's another good look and a way to target this line. I think they're going to have a big night, and I feel like Zibanejad's been, I don't want to say finding his game, but they've been able to carry him to more respectable results. So yeah, I think those are all good props.
Yeah, and everything you mentioned definitely favors my Trottek prop as well. So hopefully we'll have a good night there. Although I I only wore the Rangers hat for the show to do my little part to hopefully mush New York tonight in this game, and let's see Boston win their third in a row. But some news coming out of the NHL this morning. Of course, Igor Shesterkin was confirmed as the starting goaltender for tonight's game a couple of hours ago. Arvid Soderblom is going to start for the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to talk about that game shortly. And Sidney Crosby, upper body, absent from Pittsburgh's practice on Wednesday morning. Obviously, that's not going to factor into tonight's handicapping, but something to watch going forward here as we head towards the Four Nations face-off. But yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the Oilers and the Blackhawks and Edmonton. They look pretty good coming out of the gate last night, but they sort of let their foot off the gas in the second period. But before we get into the game and into handicapping this matchup versus the Blackhawks, I've yet to see another angle on the Ekholm interference penalty, but that has to be one of the worst calls. If it looks as bad as it looked from the TV angle, that has to be one of the worst calls that I've seen yet this season. I mean, it looked like the puck, uh, hit the player's stick before he hit him. So I mean, it wasn't like the puck was nowhere near him or anything. I don't know, man. It was the refs were a little bit weird last night. They they're weird every night, but they ignored some obvious penalties, and then gave the Oilers that ridiculous call in which St. Louis ended up scoring on. So that was the reason why the game was so close. Did you see that play, Nick?
I did. Yeah. I mean, reffing is hard. I think they spend too much time worrying about even up calls. I feel like you can always kind of count on it.
Yeah.
You can see how it leaks into their head where like certain times it's like, okay, well, they're never going to give the next call to this team regardless, or it's going to have to be a 10 out of 10 obvious call. And then other times when you can kind of expect it after a certain, borderline call, it feels like, a soft one's going the other way. And I feel like at times it just leaks too much into their game where they're just playing to even it up. The one area of reffing that shouldn't, I don't think, be that hard is goal reviews. And I think I feel like the perfect way to simplify these goalie interference calls, which continue to be really controversial, would just be putting more onus on debating if the goalie actually ever would have saved the puck or not. Because I feel like it gets too far from that. It's getting to a point where they're kind of debating the level of contact, I think. And I feel like it
Yeah.
should just be simplifying the language to say, would the goalie have been able to make the save or not? Because it feels like it's gotten really far away from that. And those are the calls I think that are most commonly pissing people off. So I don't really know the solution to the offside one. I think now that they've made it where you can have your foot in the air, that's made it as simple as you can. But
I
I don't
do
think
get
there's a
rid of
way to.
offside.
But the thing is, those entries are important to the play. And that's always my argument. Like, if you're coaching, you're always teaching your defenders to try to stand up at the blue line and put guys
Absolutely.
off. So I feel like it's like people cry about it, but zone entries are critical. So, like, whether
Yeah.
it's 20 seconds before or 30 seconds before, I feel like at the end of the day, that zone entry did play a big part in the goal. So those ones to me are hard because it's like, are you going to say we want to get rid of the obvious ones? But then how do you make the language where it's like that one? I kind of feel like it's tough. They're in a tough spot on that. But I think the goalie interference, they definitely could figure out a way to do a better job of making it more black and white. So
I've
coaches
always
aren't just
felt
lost.
that you could, maybe feed two birds with one scone. I'm going to use the politically correct saying there, but by uh, getting rid of the way that we have offside now and just making it so that the puck carrier can't pass the puck over the blue line. So maybe a guy like a player can can skate up the ice and go over the blue line before the puck, but the puck carrier just can't pass the puck to that player in the offensive zone until he crosses the blue line. I think it would get rid of all the
Okay, yeah, I see what you're
bogus
saying. So they
offside.
can't. Yeah.
There's no cherry picking that way, right? You can't do a two line pass or a one line pass or anything like that. You have to carry the puck into the zone before you can pass to a player that's already in the zone. It would open up offense. It would spread out the D. It would really, I think, create a lot of excitement in the game. But it'll never happen. But that's always been my idea. But anyways, the Oilers they controlled nearly 71% of the expected goals, 65% of the shots, out shooting St. Louis 38-22 last night. They couldn't solve Jordan Binnington at 5-on-5 though. Of course, Connor McDavid scored on the power play. Leon Draisaitl scored with the empty net with 2 minutes and 14 seconds remaining to tie the game, and then Connor Brown. Of course, he scored at 3-on-3 in overtime. So no 5-on-5 goals for the Oilers last night, but both Draisaitl and McDavid recorded multi-point games, so they went over their totals. And McDavid led the way with a goal and 2 assists, but he had just 1 shot in the game. And I saw a post on OilersNation.com this morning when I was on there posting my game preview for this one against the Blackhawks that Oilers fans are just begging this guy to shoot the puck more, because obviously there's he has a lot of talent. But it was fun to see him walk Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway last night. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he
And the thing
enjoyed
is,
that as well.
he's pretty damn smart about passing off
For
borderline
sure.
shots. And a lot of those plays where he sets up Connor Brown for a tap in and that type of play happened because he chose to pass up a borderline shot. So I feel like it's one of those things you complain about, but at the end of the day, I think McDavid knows what he's doing. So
Absolutely. Just for a guy who possesses the pucks so much, it's hard to believe that he does. I feel like there has to be maybe some shots that he could be taking that he's not taking, right? And yeah, but speaking of shots, like we said before, Draisaitl, he just needed 1 period to clear his shots on goal prop over 2.5. Minus 132 were the odds that I gave out yesterday at Pinnacle. There's been a big adjustment there, obviously, because of the weaker matchup here against the Blackhawks and the fact that he's got 24 shots in his last 3 games. He's now recorded 3 or more shots in 5 straight games, including 3 dominant performances with 10, 6, and 8 shots on goal, respectively, over the last 3 games. He'll need 4 shots on goal to go over his prop on Wednesday, but I think at the current odds at Pinnacle, I'm not sure if they've changed or not, but they were plus 132 for Draisaitl to score or to record 4 or more shots, which he has done in 10 of his last 20 games. I'm hoping the fact that they're playing the Blackhawks doesn't mean he'll take it easy tonight. But I think given the odds, I'm willing to take another chance on him shooting the puck as much as he has been, given that he's his current form and he's playing alongside McDavid at 5-on-5. So at plus 132, I think it's a worthwhile bet. I think you can get at least plus 120 at a lot of sports books. So shop around, try to find the best price on that one. I also like Corey Perry to score an anytime goal. Jake decided to use Perry in our thumbnail for today's show, not knowing that I don't know if you forgot, Jake, but Perry's already been to Chicago once already since being traded to the Oilers, and he scored a goal. So yeah, that was good. But he's made the most out of his promotion to the top line. He's registered 3 shots on goal. He registered 3 shots on goal and scored in Edmonton's loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had 4 shots on goal last night, so he's hungry for more. And I think he's going to be, he's going to have his opportunities all around the net tonight against a weak defensive team in Chicago. He generated 1.15 expected goals in last night's game against St. Louis, which is nearly double his previous best this season. I think his previous best was like 0.67 expected goals in 1 game. So I think he's going to have a good chance to find the back of the net tonight. Hopefully it's a greasy one, which he's good at. But plus 336 at Pinnacle, but you can get plus 350 on this one at Bet365 and a couple of other sports books. So definitely shop around for the best price. So Corey Perry anytime goal plus 350 and Leon Draisaitl over 3.5 shots on goal plus 132 to go along with Vincent Trocek over 2.5 shots on goal at plus 135. So 3+ money player props tonight. Hopefully hit 2 of the 3. And hopefully one of them is a Corey Perry anytime goal, because that would be obviously the biggest ROI in out of all 3 bets. Do you see anything in this game that you like? I mean, it's a tough one to handicap with such a weak opponent in the Blackhawks, but I mean, like you said many times, Nick, if you just backed Edmonton's best players to go ham every night, you'd probably be up this season pretty good, right? So
yeah, this season it's felt that way for sure. I think you've got the easier job with the Oilers Nation at times this year, because the Flames
Yeah,
guys,
I
the
do.
Canucks guys, it's just like, what do you expect out of these guys? Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of could see another big game from Bouchard was the one angle I was kind of interested in, but those props are pretty juiced. I thought he had a really, really good performance last night versus St. Louis. I still think he's playing pretty good hockey, but I thought last night his play really stood out. His goal
Yeah.
scoring's been down. I was kind of looking. I feel like he's still getting some really good looks on the power play. I think. Well, how many power play goals does he have this year? I think I heard it was only 1 or 2, whatever the number was. It seemed insane to me when they said it on the broadcast last night. But I kind of like him to score there too. But thought it might be a little longer than plus 350. But that would kind of be my lean. I feel like he's kind of shutting people up right now. And
It's
I still
actually
think he's
0.
playing next.
He has
Okay,
0
yeah,
power play
that's
goals this season.
insane. Yeah, I feel like he
14
gets some really
assists.
good looks from the top there. But yeah, anyways, so that would kind of be my lean. I didn't really have too much there.
Yeah, and if only the betting market reflected the mainstream media's opinions about Evan Bouchard, because then we'd probably be betting his props every single night, because
That
they
would
don't
be
seem
the
to like
dream.
him very much.
Yeah.
You don't hear, even in a strong game, a strong performance like last night, they're still just picking out all the little negatives, right? And
And it's funny, even like during the cup run last year, people rag on the whole Oilers defense, and they're in game 7 of the cup final. And it's like, well, who was good if Bouchard wasn't good? Like, I know they have McDavid and Draisaitl, but how did they get here? And obviously Ekholm deserves a lot of credit and he gets it. But at some point, I feel like the actual on ice goal differential and Bouchard and the fact that his team is really good should probably speak for him a little more than it seems to. But yeah, we've talked about it a lot. That kind of defender always just gets ragged on every game.
Yeah, he's 25 years old. That's the other thing. He's just coming, like, we're gonna see the best out of Evan Bouchard over the next 2-3 years, right? And maybe even beyond that. So I know they're in win now mode, but you can't go giving up a player of his skill level. And because you're just gonna be looking for that same guy.
I'd honestly
really
love
soon,
it
right?
just to see what would happen if they traded him for like
Yeah.
another standard defensive defender, and then people would be like, "Oh wow, why is this team not winning as many games? What is going wrong?" And it would be,
Jordan
I think,
Smaltz would
kind of
love it.
satisfying. Yeah, yeah, that was quite a take. But
Quite a take.
anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely a Bouchard believer. I think he's been worse at times this year, but his results kind of speak for themselves overall.
So yeah, the Oilers and Blackhawks, the Bruins and the Rangers. The only remaining game tonight is the Montreal Canadiens in LA taking on the Kings. Of course, the Canadiens ended their 5-game skid with the win over the Sharks last night. Nothing really to write home about there, though, as they just barely beat the San Jose Sharks 4-3. And yeah, it's but a win is a win. So I don't have much to say about this game, this matchup between the Kings and the Canadiens. I think LA is, rightfully a big favorite. They're minus 239 on the money line. Montreal has not been playing well as of late. I mean, they were looking really good for a little bit, but that seems to have trailed off quite a bit. But I guess we'll see what happens with the Canadiens. Any thoughts on this game, Nick?
Yeah, I did like Drew Doughty to get a point at
Okay.
minus 110. I think we'll see him get going here. I feel like it's a good spot to target the Kings' top players, obviously. And he's played huge minutes. I don't think he looked great in his first matchup, but he's averaging over 25 minutes. And all 3 of those games came against good defensive teams. They were playing on the road versus Florida, Tampa, and then Carolina, he had a better game and got an assist. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good spot to target the Kings top players. I think we're going to see Doughty play huge minutes, and I feel like this number, given how favored the team is and how likely I think they are to score 3 or more, is pretty generous. So I think it's a good spot. If you want to do a stack, you can also do Kopitar, Kempe, and Doughty each to get a point is plus 275. So I think that could be worth a sprinkle as well there.
Yeah, 23-51 in his first game of the season against the Florida Panthers, 27-43 against the Lightning, and 24-16 versus the Carolina Hurricanes. So yeah, no problem playing big minutes for Doughty even after missing all that time. So yeah, he'll probably end up playing a lot of minutes as well tonight. Alex Ovechkin becoming what the I guess he's only got Gordie Howe to pass now after his 19th 25 goal season, just 17 goals away from breaking the record. Has your opinion changed at all on, do you think he's going to get it done this season? I think it's going to be really close.
It's
We'll
going to be
see.
super close, and they're going to be trying so hard and well positioned to try hard to get
Yeah.
him goals. Hopefully, it's not too much of a distraction, but we'll see. I still think it's going to be really tough. A lot of people have been putting out, projections based off his season scoring average of it coming down to like April 8th or whatever it is now, which I get, but I think you kind of have to assume he'll slow up to some extent here. But who knows? Last year during the break, he went to Dubai and did whatever. I'm not saying like something crazy actually happened, but people were making a lot of jokes about it because he came back from the All-Star break and started scoring a goal like every single night. So hopefully
the rest
something
will
like
do
that.
him some good, I think.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess he'll
sure.
probably, if he doesn't, maybe he'll do some skating over the break, because it is such a line. It's not like the All-Star break where you're only off for less than a week, where they're going to be off for a little while here. So
Yeah, I think it's the 9th to the 23rd that the
10th,
players will be off.
10th to something like that. But yeah, it's a long break. I would imagine that he's going to have to continue skating. I don't think he can just lay around and live the life for 2 weeks. But yeah, I was like, how do I say this?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would be awesome. I just I mean, hopefully it would just be really cool if he could get on a pace and score 15 goals or 16 goals and with 4 or 5 games remaining, because at that point then Wayne Gretzky's going to probably follow him around every game, right, so that he can be there to shake his hand and all that stuff. And I think it'll be much watch TV, must
Last
watch
game of the
TV,
year
right?
is in Pittsburgh. So
Oh, that would be
that would be
phenomenal.
the
Yeah.
absolute dream. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be really fun down the stretch here for sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, the one bet that I did want to get into tomorrow as I watch the line move while we record. So hopefully, I think
Yep.
even Utah is at minus 135 in Columbus tomorrow. I would play, given the current news that we have, to minus 145. I think that obviously Utah's kind of not been at their best, but they're now healthy and they're going to get going. We saw how big of a difference maker Gunther was for them last night, and he just brings such much needed offensive upside to the second unit. So I think defensively, obviously, they're healthier now too. And then you look at Columbus, and their injury situation is just arguably their top 3 needle movers are out of the lineup. So it's pretty bad. We'll see. Maybe if Werenski plays, obviously, then you're not thrilled to be taking minus 145s. But if he was out, I would even probably still be happy to play that. So, and we talked about it. Marchenko has been unreal at both ends of the ice. His absence was very noticeable last night in their loss to Buffalo, and just who's all out of the lineup. Even Fabro had been playing really good for them. He's a bit of an afterthought, given that they claimed him off waivers, which a lot of people thought seemed pretty foolish of Barry Trotz. And here we are. He's one of the most important defenders on a team that's actually going or in the playoff race. So yeah, their injury situation is really bad. I think it's a good time to buy on Utah. So I thought that price looked short. We're kind of seeing it move. So who knows where it'll go overnight. But I think given who's out of the lineup for Columbus, it's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have anything for Thursday just yet. Of course, we'll be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel. But I guess one interesting note is that there is, there's 9 games on tomorrow's slate, and usually we'd see some schedule edges in a slate that big. But every team in action is coming off just 1 day rest here on Thursday. So besides the Ottawa Senators playing their 3rd game in 4 nights, the Florida Panthers and the Calgary Flames playing their 4th game in 6 nights. It's going to be, a lot of matchups playing on equal rest tomorrow, and so that we'll see some good hockey. But unfortunately, those schedule edges won't be there to factor into our handicapping. But yeah, until then, good luck with your bets and gamble responsibly.